The Common Legend is a podcast for everyone.
Hello and welcome to The Common Legend. We're legends and we're common than you may think. My name's Sean, and this week my guest is Joshua Abendroth.
Abendroth, yeah.
How you doing tonight, Josh?
Not too bad. Chilling, big chilling.
Thanks for coming over and doing this.
Yeah, dude, I was looking forward to it. I've been watching, and yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think it's sick to see or hear. I like the premise, so just the common person, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, I feel like I've gotten burnt out on listening to celebrities talk about themselves.
I know, right?
On podcasts, so I'm like, I just think this shit's so intriguing, and I feel like I know a lot of people, like I was saying earlier, Tom's his name.
Tom, yeah, my first guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good episode, and yeah, it just intrigued me just because I've definitely thought about doing something like this before too, and I don't know, it's just something that like
It intrigues you.
like it intrigues me, but I don't know if I would do it. I'm just like too scared, I guess, to like try something. Like I've always, maybe I'm a little jaded about it, but
Well, I mean, you're over here. So
yeah.
That's some bravery.
It's cool, and I'm totally for people like trying shit.
Yeah.
Just like doing it.
Well, I really appreciate the support. Like since like I started it, like I think you just stumbled upon it. I didn't send it to you, right? I think you messaged me.
I think you had a TikTok just come across my feed. You know how like I think because we have contacts,
right? So it knows we know.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of sick, and I wasn't sure like what you're going with it at the time, but I was like, oh, that's really dope, and something to look at lunch too.
Yeah, man, your support has been like amazing. Like, thank you so much. Like, your words of kindness really mean a lot. Like, probably more than you know. Like, those little words of encouragement and stuff. So, like, I've been really excited to bring you on, and I wanted to wait until everything was kind of like set up properly.
No,
and a
you're
little
good.
better.
I mean, if this was in a basement with just like a shitty microphone, I would have been totally down.
Yeah.
I think it's cool knowing that you've put effort into it. I see you have, and I think it's awesome. Really.
Well, thanks, man.
People should be. Whether you listen or not.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you ever decide you want to try, like I'm there to help. If you want to collab, you need some tips, you know.
Yeah, I feel like I would do it once, like I did before, and then just that'd be it. Yeah. I'm a starter and then I stop. Yeah. Kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, you're just testing out. You're finding what you like.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could go into a little bit about like how we know each other then, because we've known each other for a couple of years, and we met at work.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it was interesting because everyone at our job is so introverted.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like, I mean, it's a bunch of gamers. They're there aren't a lot of outgoing personalities where you're going to see. I don't know. I feel like you were one of the first people when I started there because it's been about coming up on 3 years now.
Yeah, my 3 years is like in 2 days or something.
I think you were playing Magic or something on lunch break.
Oh, yeah.
I was having a smoke. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you were always like really inviting and like welcoming. You're just like, "What's up, dude?" And I was like, "Okay, this guy's a vibe." Like, and I'm not a very outgoing person as it is either. I'm in the same boat, but like, I'm social to a degree, and I would just sit out there and watch you guys play Magic and fucking chill. I thought it was really cool, and I think we got on the topic of sobriety, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably what came up.
Exchange numbers.
Yeah, it was definitely sobriety. I think I don't know. It just kind of always comes up with me: mental health and sobriety.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Which is kind of like now the theme of this podcast is like spirituality, religion, mental health, and sobriety.
Yeah,
I didn't even try. It's just like. That's what everyone has in common, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's important to talk about too.
For sure.
Especially with, I think that's what makes it intriguing is how, I don't know, fake social media is, I guess.
Yeah.
Like when it's all so glorified, and I don't know. I think it's interesting to listen to people's issues, and I don't know. It's just you can just connect better.
Yeah. Okay, so. I'm going out of order just because you brought this up. I want to talk about it now.
You're good.
I know you made a post like talking about mental health TikTok and like how kind of shitty it is and creates these bubbles and I'm like everyone you don't like is a narcissist and stuff. So what do you think is like the best and worst part about social media for mental health?
That's kind of hard. Probably, I mean, the addiction aspect is one of them, but I think people relate. It seems like people are trying to be doctors on social media, kind of thing. I think spreading awareness is good, but I feel like you see a lot of people like, I don't know, give a shitty, I don't know, relate to one bad ADHD TikTok, and they're like, oh, I have ADHD, so this is like me now. Like, I don't know, it's like a, what is it called? Like BPD, maybe?
Don't even get me started on BPD talk.
I just think I think it can be toxic in a way, but also it's hard to, I don't like to shit on it or anything, but I want people to be aware that not everything you read or see online,
right?
It's the old, like,
it's the same thing, but
is not
yeah
true, or I don't know. I feel like people make it their personality, kind of.
Oh my God.
A way. And that's like agree. And social media kind of like enhances that. And yeah, I don't know. It's just so weird. I think social media is so weird, and all of us are everyone's really weird and complex, and like nobody has all the answers. Everyone's different, but social media kind of like shoehorns you into like a corner.
Oh yeah, and the algorithm on TikTok like feeds you.
Yeah. You only see one thing, so you're just like, you think that's how it is, and if anything's different, then it's weird.
Makes those bubbles, which is
it's just a bubble.
How you end up with a Cheeto for a president.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that bullshit.
So you, to get away from that bullshit, so you like the information spreading aspect of it, like me, but like me, you also hate the like glamorization of certain things such as BPD. I'm going to be very specific. BPD talk, when that started coming around, I saw a lot of people using it to justify their shitty behavior and almost wearing it like a badge.
Exactly. Yeah. The justifying, and I feel like I've seen so many scenarios of people that are, and it sucks because you want to like help that person. Like, right. I don't know. You don't want to be shitty to that person to a degree, because I don't know. It's really complicated. I feel
it's so fucking complicated.
Like, I just want to be like, it's not because it's just because you're doing a shitty thing. It's not your
Now there's good and bad mental illnesses. I thought illness meant it was bad in general, but now there's better ones and good ones even. And there's no, I mean, there is to an extent bipolar talk,
right.
But
I feel like even at one point I like fell down a rabbit hole of like thinking I had bipolar when I have other issues, but I just saw like so many things and symptoms, and I learned that some of it runs in my family, and I was like, oh shit, I might be. But that's like a whole other... Dude,
it's so complicated. And like you said, like we're not like everyone's self-diagnosing, and like the personality disorders take years of therapy with one therapist for them to be like, okay, maybe they have this.
Yeah.
And people are instantly be like, I can relate to this person and their stories, which I think you can to anyone to an extent. So I completely agree with you. Like, and I understand why.
See a psychiatrist.
Go see a therapist more than like
anything.
Therapy more than psychiatry.
Right.
Yeah. They're trying to give you pills.
I have recently gotten a psychiatrist after many years of mine.
Both are important, but I think therapy's more important.
Oh yeah, therapy's great. Yeah. Especially if it's free.
Through work, using those sessions.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, I haven't used them this year, but I used them last year.
Yeah.
And then the one I had to pay, I was like, fuck.
I know, right? Once you run out and you like hit that one, they're like $300. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's a good benefit. Totally.
I had therapy too in a way that, and there were some things that I felt like I worked out, but I'm so self-aware to a degree that I was just yapping to her, and like kind of it seemed like I had already figured out a lot of things that I didn't know how to like handle, I guess. So it felt like I just need someone to fucking blabber to.
Talk therapy, that's what they call it, because sometimes you just need to talk.
I felt bad for her.
No, she gets paid. Fuck
I know, but I was
I get
just
it.
like, this girl just sits here and listens to me.
Yeah.
Like
That's
essentially
half of
doesn't
it.
do anything but sit there. She's like falling asleep. I don't know.
She's taking notes, making mental
No, she was
reminders.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't this year.
Through Spring Health, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing, and that's where I found my favorite therapist ever. Thank God. My therapist I met 2 years ago through our work benefit has been life changing.
I've had some bad therapists. Oh, dude,
Did you listen to my therapist
horrible.
episode where we talk about dating your therapist and the importance of it? Like, don't stick with one. If you get a think of it like dating. If you wouldn't be able to have a drink with them, don't tell them your problems.
Right,
Yeah.
I just, when I first started going to therapy, I was like pretty into my drinking. It's pretty big. Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't understand. The issue was I was drinking, but I was in a denial phase still. So everyone I saw, I immediately, I think, rejected in my head because they were, but I was also not super truthful about my use and shit. So it was all really kind of awkward. And she's like, oh, why are you like shaking today? And it's like,
I'm cold.
Cold.
I'm cold, really cold.
I'm like sick as hell. Just like, I need to get out of here. Like,
yeah. But at least you were trying. Like, your mind was pointed in the right way.
Yeah.
So
Well, early on, I thought like all my issues were like a mental. Like I thought I was just so cursed, and it's because I was getting hammered every night.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drinking's a depressant.
Yeah.
Turns out.
So
Didn't know.
yeah. Well, it's one of those fun ones where it's kind of both. It's an upper and a downer, just like weed, in those.
It's an upper at first.
But long-term use, you start to see those downer effects.
Yeah.
So you've struggled with alcohol use in the past.
Yeah.
Other substances too, or was it just alcohol really?
I would try things. I quit smoking weed pretty early on. I was kind of a stoner in high school, but not like really. It was just kind of something. I never bought it. I would just like, my friends were all stoners, so it was just like, it was just something I kind of did. But drinking was like my thing. Like I don't know what it was after that first time. I was chasing a dragon for the next 10 years. Like that was it. But I mean, I would pop pills here and there. It wasn't anything. I also just from where I'm sure I could have got harder drugs, but I guess where I'm from, it's not super easy to do. So it's just like a bumfuck town.
So where are you from?
I'm from Southern Illinois. Yeah, I feel like we've just
we kind of like
gone everywhere.
It's okay. Yeah. We're going in reverse order.
Southern Illinois, Lawrenceville, Illinois.
Okay.
And it's about 4 hours south of Chicago.
Oh, so like boonies.
Yeah, like cornfields.
Okay.
And 4,000 people. Fluctuates 4,000, 5,000 people.
Okay.
My graduating class like 60, 70 people. Or
shit.
Like that.
Yeah,
the whole
super small
school is
town.
like 300 or so. But it borders like Indiana, and Kentucky's relatively. It's weird. It's in a spot like Indianapolis is 2 hours away. St. Louis is 2 hours. Louisville is 2 hours. We're like in the middle.
So it's like perfectly far enough from everything.
From kind of.
Yeah.
So, but just a town that was okay to grow up in, I guess. Like, I don't know. I feel like I have like bad memories now, but in retrospect, like, it's a nice place, I guess, to have kids.
Could have been worse.
Like, you have money if you're like a farmer.
Yeah. 4,000 isn't that small. It could have been like a town of 150.
Yeah, it's not, they got a Walmart and a McDonald's. They got,
if you got a Walmart, hey man, you're coming up.
They got some stuff. There's a college 20 minutes away, so it's like, it wasn't totally desolate, but everyone knows each other for sure. Like you don't always reference like dating apps. Like you couldn't use a dating app
because you knew everyone.
You know everyone there. Yeah. So as soon as you go to like a big town or a city and pop up a dating app,
you're like shit.
Hey, a lot of
remember me?
Yeah.
So you grew up there. Is your family still there?
Yeah. Okay. My family's still there. I have family kind of all over. I have 3 older brothers. I grew up with 2 of them. Now one lives out in Washington right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and the others are still down there. Yeah.
Are you still close with your family?
Yeah, I've still my dad and I are always both my parents, ever since I got sober, really, like, our relationship, like, skyrocketed. Like, it's just been amazing. I mean, what they did for me, it was, I mean, everything. They essentially, like, saved my life bringing me up here. And yeah, I still go once a year at least for Christmas
to
and
visit
see
them.
them. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's great.
we still have a great relationship, and it was kind of rocky there
Yeah.
for a bit, just because, you know, dealing with a booze head.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So when did booze come into the picture? Like, how old were you?
I want to say 13.
Okay.
13, 14. Yeah, was probably the first. I think I was really infatuated with, like, I don't know, wanted to start, like, with cigarettes, you know, or nicotine. And my best friend, who was someone who just lived on the block, essentially, was, like, 3 years older than me. And I kind of just started picking up anything he was doing.
Right. I mean, it's a cool older kid, right?
Yeah, he's an older kid. But he, like, kind of took me under his wing, too.
Okay.
Like, we were both these, like, I wouldn't say outcast kind of
Alternative
types. Just, like, yeah, we were, like, skater kids. And, you know, just like to get fucked up. But I was so young when it started.
Yeah, 13's on the younger side.
13,
I mean,
14.
yeah.
I wouldn't say I was, like, full, like, jumped right into it. But that's when I started, like, by high school, like, every weekend.
Yeah.
Or sometimes on the weekdays, you know, I'm, like, getting drunk. And it pretty much progresses from there, as every substance abuse sort of does. Like,
Yeah.
you know, by the time I'm 20, I'm, like, full blown, like, physically dependent, mentally. Yeah, and then 21, then 23. I'm like dead. I'm essentially not a person at this point. Like,
So your 20s is like when it became like a problem.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's some. Yeah, it just progressed naturally. I think I'm. It was kind of weird. You know, you have friends, like, pass away and shit, and just traumatic stuff that, like, fucks you up, and you stop drinking for fun. And you
start drinking to cope.
Yeah. And I drank by myself most of the time. Like, it was never like a, you know, I would go out here and there, but, like, I'd always tell myself too, like, oh, I'm gonna spend like $20 at the bar tonight, and I'll go home, and then I'm there.
Nah, it's never $20.
I'm there all night.
And then you get to the point where, like, $20 is a liter at home versus the bar. Like, that's only 4 drinks, so I might as well just stay home and drink. And then, yeah,
it never.
No. Chasing the dragon, like you said.
Chasing the dragon, always chasing the dragon. Yeah.
So when did you come down to Minnesota then?
So May 10th, 2019.
Okay. So not that long ago, like right before you got your job, right?
No.
Oh God. Okay. I'm feeling old now. 2019 is still like 3 years ago to me.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. I get that. No, I'm coming up on 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what brought you here?
Rehab.
Or did you go to Hazelden? Mm-hmm. Your parents have farmers' money.
I don't know how that situation worked out. I don't know. I don't even know if it was my parents, honestly. But I went to Plymouth Hazelden.
Okay.
Yeah. It was kind of all a blur. I didn't really know where I was going. It was kind of funny because the week leading up to me coming up here was probably just like my worst. At this point, I'm like waking up, taking shots, like to get my mind
just
good.
To go, yeah.
Just to go. I was working at front desk at like some mechanic shop. I don't even remember, like 15 minutes away. At lunch, I'm like drinking half a pint, and then to go to bed, I'm drinking like the rest of it and probably another couple. Yeah. That's like my routine at this point. And I think one night I probably just overdid it. And I think I woke up, my dad found me on the floor or something. And they had mentioned, I feel like they had like mini interventions that I didn't really like catch on. My idea of rehab was so fucked. I thought it was like a boys' home or something, or like jail. I don't know. My idea of rehab, bad kid camp. Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to fucking rehab. Yeah. It was funny too because I had a friend go in California, and he sent back a bong to me and my buddy
while he was in rehab.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know if he was in rehab, like
Right.
inpatient at the time,
right.
but he was living out in California because of rehab. So we were like,
This is where that whole idea
so
of
my
California,
idea of rehab and like the California sober
that
bullshit,
like we were talking about,
yeah, I was just like, okay, like that was my only experience of knowing someone that went to rehab. I was never exposed to it. Our education there is probably not ideal, like, you know, DARE program.
Yeah, they kind of fucked us from the get-go.
Yeah,
I didn't even know what half those drugs were until they told me, so I blame them.
You don't know until it's like in front of your face.
Yeah.
And or you're going through it. So that week leading up, I just like woke up. I don't even know what happened. My dad just like handed me the phone and he was like, talk to this. And it's the
intake or something.
intake.
Oh shit.
And he's like, we're gonna go. Like this isn't like the way they're saying this isn't like, hey, we think you should.
No, you're going.
You're going.
Period. It's probably not the most effective.
And I'm like, but I'm like so sick.
Yeah.
I can't keep down water. Like I'm just like throwing up. I'm like I'm so physically fucked up.
So some alcohol poisoning for sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like just like, you know, I don't even remember what they asked. It was just like, how much do you use? And I can't remember. But I remember it was funny. I knew it was like a 10-hour. They were like, this is like we're driving today. I was like,
damn.
Like literally, like we're going.
Wow.
Like, and then it's 10, 11 hours or so.
Yeah.
And I text my dad like, because I didn't want my mom. She probably knows now, but I was like, I'm not making this trip unless I have something to drink, because I'm gonna be. It wasn't even that. It was more so like, I don't want to be so sick. Like I don't want to withdraw this whole drive up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing it unless you like.
Well, alcohol is one of the only withdrawals you can die from. So
I think my dad had a better understanding of that than my mom did at the time. I think she was like a little reluctant about that whole. Because she did take me to the emergency room one time. I had drank so much, and I think I like dried out my leg. I couldn't walk one time, like after a drinking, after a bender. Like my legs were like dried up. It seemed like I was like, I can't walk. And she came to my apartment. I was living like an hour south at the time. And I was like, hey, can you like stop and get me a beer for this? And she was like, no.
She's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Why would you want a beer right now?
Yeah.
Like, I just need something.
I need to feel a little better.
And then I think she asked my dad, and he was like, yeah, that's probably like, you don't want a cold turkey.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a funny experience. Mainly not funny, so take me to the emergency room, but I did have that beer, and I went to the hospital. And I was kind of drunk. Yeah. And I was like fucking around with other stuff. Like
it's not funny, but it is. I get it.
A little bit. Yeah. You look back and you're like, oh I was like kind of toasted.
That's weird.
In the hospital while they're treating me. Like, But yeah, so they drove me up, and just dropped me off. Like you're gonna go to this place, and it was pretty. I don't know. It was overwhelming just because I didn't know where I was. Yeah. Never thought
out
about
of state,
Minnesota.
10 hours away, no friends or family here?
Nothing. Okay. My dad's friend lives here.
Okay.
That's how they found out about it.
Okay.
His son went to rehab, So he was like, I think he was like pushing that idea onto them for a few months, maybe. He had brought it up a lot. And it came up and just dropped me off. And so I knew him, but Plymouth inpatient has minors, so you don't have a phone. You can't have cigarettes.
I think the one here in the cities is the same way. It's the worst though, right?
It was bad.
No cigs though. That is okay. There's one thing all addicts have in common: nicotine. Right?
Yeah. I was feeling
that must be horrible.
It was hilarious just because they had a chart in our meetings every day of like your craving levels. Oh, and mine stayed at like the highest for nicotine.
Every day they ask you, like, I want one.
Well, I felt like I was really shitty about it the first week just because I was like, you know, I was 23, coming up on 24 at the time.
Oh God, yeah.
And I was like, you treat me like a fucking kid.
It's like prison.
What the fuck? Yeah. Like, give me a cigarette, man. Like, I'm like, fuck these kids. Like, there were younger kids in there.
Yeah.
And I was like demanding that they send me to Center City and fucking all this shit. After a week, it was whatever.
You're like,
okay, I gotta. It was funny, but the first thing I did when I got out,
smoke cigs.
I smoked this.
Dude, I think that's true of anyone. First thing you do when you get out of rehab, if you can't smoke, you smoke.
Yeah.
Get a whole pack.
Yeah, my mom. It was funny. I immediately like called my parents, had my phone back, and they're like, "How you feeling?" And I'm on cloud 9 just because when you're sober I was an inpatient for 40 days or whatever. I called them and like, "How you feeling?" Blah blah blah. And my mom, first thing, she's like, "So you quit cigarettes?" And I'm like, smoking. I'm like, no,
absolutely not.
One thing at a time. Chill. Come on.
Yeah. What was the issue? Why'd you send me here? Like, let's focus on that. Yeah.
I've had a drink, right? It's
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
So have you been sober since, or were there some relapses? Sober since.
Sober since.
And what year did you get out then? 2020 or 19?
2019. Yeah, May 10th is my sober day. Coming up on 6 years.
6 years. That's awesome, man. Yeah, you have to go back and listen to this week's episode with Josh. Ironically enough, he's coming up on 6 years too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
2019 was the time to get sober.
And it's amazing that you stayed sober though, like because right after that you got hit in the face with this pandemic.
I know, but it was. I think the thing that saved me, well, first of all, I did do the work. Like the first year I was like pretty involved in meetings. I have a sponsor. I still have the same sponsor, even though we're more like at this point just homies. I love him to death. Like he was the best. Yeah, he still is. I can call him, talk to him anytime. And I think there were little things like that is all I needed, kind of thing.
Community, a friend, some support.
Yeah, because essentially I just pushed everyone away back in Lawrenceville. Like I was just a drunk. I was an asshole. Like I don't blame anyone for like not fucking with me. Like I was a piece of shit essentially, but it was hard to relate to anyone there. I felt like I was the only 23-year-old with this like issue. Like I was totally. I essentially like wanted to drink myself to death. Like I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I know that's like a kind of a curve from what we were talking about. Like I already kind of did a first step while I was drinking. I knew I was an alcoholic. I knew I was like fucked. Like I was like, this is just my life. Like the withdrawals are so horrible, and I felt like my life was horrible, and I think I've dealt with like major depression on top of that forever, almost who hasn't, but
lots of people actually haven't, which is weird to me.
Yeah, maybe I'm just, my circles are just
right.
Like,
yeah.
But I think to a point I already knew the issue and I was fine with it. And I was like, this is just going to take me out eventually. Like, cause I wasn't going to do anything to myself. I've never been like a physical self-harmer.
Yeah.
But the alcohol I was using as self-harm, like I was like, this is my goal was for it to, like, I'm like dead at the end of this. Like, this is it. And I was okay with that. Like I was. So when I come up here, the first person I meet in inpatient, 23 years old.
Same boat.
Same.
And you must
13, started drinking.
Have felt like so relieved to know like you're not alone.
Yeah, like it I just kind of laughed. Like I was like, no fucking way. That this fucking. And my room, like another guy in there, same around the same age, same shit. And I was just like. And they were just the greatest dudes ever too, which was lucky on my part. I felt very fortunate and lucky that I was surrounded at that time with like pretty like people who wanted to get sober, wanted to go to meetings. Like I had that like sense of community, and I was very lucky, I think, with the group of people I was around all the time. Like I was so we were always doing shit and always and I just stuck to it, and I ended up doing the, you go through the steps and whatever. But what were we talking about before? totally.
It doesn't matter. It's what we're talking about now.
Doesn't matter.
No, but the community is huge. And like Tom, I met him in rehab. Like all the best people I've ever met, like the nicest ones have been when you're like all forced to sit down and like face your shit. And it's like, okay, we're essentially kids in school again.
Yeah.
So you go do fun little weird things. Like when I met Tom, the first time I met him, I laid down in a pile of leaves. Because it was the last day of fall and I just like got out of the hospital and he came and laid down next to me. He's like, what are you doing? This looks great. And like, I've been friends with him ever since.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah, little thing. You'll never meet. I mean, I'm not a very, like, I keep a small circle. I'm not a cliquey guy. I don't really, like, if I feel things are, well, just kind of how I feel about meetings. Some meetings, some.
Yeah.
But I will say the best place to like make a friend or start up conversation, not even make a friend, is a smoking pit. Smoke pits, whether it's at work, rehab, whatever. Everyone I met was in a smoke pit. Everyone I talked to was just like talking, you know, even an inpatient, like me and my buddy, like they would have like group activities going on and me and him would just be like in our room, just like back and forth, just for hours, just talking. Like I think those small connections are super important.
Yeah
Yeah.
And so you went through the 12-step program. I know one of them is accepting a higher power. So being raised in a small town Illinois, what role has like religion or spirituality played in your life?
Yeah, it was weird because I wasn't necessarily raised religious at all. I do have I have a godmother who's great, very Catholic. My mom is Catholic. I don't know.
That's the harshest one. That's a Marbred of religions.
But never strict, really. I don't think my dad was raised that way. So we were kind of just at our own free will to, you know, pick and choose if you want it, we never talked about it. It was nothing that like, but I had a very, as soon as something bad happens in your life, say, I think triggered, it was probably when my mom had cancer for the first time in like 2005. I was in like 5th grade or something, where I started thinking about just simple shit when you're like, why would God do this? Why would, because you think I thought I was gonna lose my mom like in 5th grade, and that whole like venture didn't end. She wasn't cancer free until I was like sophomore or junior in high school, so it was a long fucking ordeal. And I think I just got angsty about it. Like I was just like, fuck God, fuck, I don't like, I didn't love the word God still like irks me a little.
It's a trigger word for people, for sure.
It just sounds bad. Like I don't know. I don't fuck with kings, you know? Like I don't I
agree.
So like little stuff like that kind of built up, and so I think when I got the treatment, I'd say I'm agnostic now.
Okay.
Like I did accept a higher as whatever. I usually think as my friends of the past, or like
it could be your ancestors,
my cat. I don't know, just little things like that. I do have to remind myself, like I am not God, you know. And I had a hard time with like the prayer things. My sponsor a lot would be like, just pray about it. And I was pretty bad at practicing prayer, but even him just saying that like felt okay. Like I was like, you know. And I heard this one thing that was really good. It was from a video. It was like, don't pray because you believe in God. Pray because you are not God. And I've always, and that struck me, just that like, and I was like, oh, okay, like something clicked there, like that I was able to kind of identify with, I guess, just getting over yourself, essentially.
So not nihilist, where like nothing matters, like everything's pointless.
I think I struggle with that sometimes. I have my moments, because I would say I was like very nihilistic before I got sober, and I still kind of was for a while, and like I kind of have that like personality trait.
So do I, dude. Anarchist,
what the fuck
nihilist,
ever.
like what the fuck
like
ever.
I have a hard time, like, I don't know. I get overwhelmed pretty easy just about everything sometimes. So I feel like it's something I just resort to. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, whatever.
Well, that's like
just
the it is what it is mentality, which can be good or bad.
Yeah.
It can be used like a weapon, to hurt someone or to save yourself.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, so, like, spirituality and stuff, it's like... I definitely have a different outlook on it. And I think that brings some level of comfort, even though I don't practice it as much as I probably should. I think some are interesting, like Buddhism and more like the peaceful
For sure.
traits of religions. And, I think there are good Christian people, and I think there are great
good
Catholic
cops, good
people.
Christians, good
There's
good and bad of everything.
But before, I was definitely like,
fuck Christianity.
Anyone.
Really?
No, yeah.
I get that though, because there's the closed-minded ones, the bad ones will fucking ruin it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But do you think so? Going from like atheist probably to agnostic, the whole there is nothing to, okay, well, maybe there's something, but I don't know. It brings that comfort where you're like, okay, something could be going on, maybe, but I'm not God, like you said.
But it ain't me.
And it's not you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I think it feels not to just be. It's okay not to know.
Oh,
and it's okay to sit in that. Like, just. I don't know, man. Like,
no, I agree.
I'm here today.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my...
That's very Buddhist.
I'm very much like day by day. Like I feel like I've done really well not future tripping, because that was a big problem at one point. Like, it's just constant anxiety, and I still deal with that stuff, but I've gotten so much better. It's just like, I don't really think about tomorrow. Just think about right now.
What you're talking about, living in the present moment, is the root philosophy of Buddhism, which I found Buddhism in rehab. I got a book called True Love by Thich Nhat Hanh, and it like explained to me just that, like, the future tripping, leads to anxiety, past tripping leads to depression. But like the whole philosophy you're living right now, like, you don't have to identify as Buddhist or anything. You could just live as agnostic. But the fact that you're living in the present moment and be like worried about what's happening right now, what you can control and not. Yeah, I think that's the key to happiness.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely makes things easier. Definitely. And some people aren't on that. Like, and you'll meet people like that. Yeah. I feel like I've kind of met. I don't know. I feel like with relationships, it's tougher, which is something I've kind of found out.
For I have like differing beliefs in those?
Well, it's just kind of how I go about my business. I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time connecting with girls, I guess, or relationships in general, like love interest, because it's always like when people are dating each other, that's always kind of like, oh, where's this gonna lead? Where's this gonna...
Expectations. They bring you into the future.
Yeah. If I have any expectations, then I don't feel connected, if that makes any sense. And
then when they have them and you don't, it like causes conflicts.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
I feel like I've kind of lost like any kind of codependency through treatment too. Yeah. Like being sober and being single for a long time.
So you don't have a partner right now?
No.
Okay. How long have you been single for?
About 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I have dated. I mean, I've gotten through a couple of relationships, and I actually was on a date this morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
They go good?
I went to a cat cafe.
One of the kitty cat cafes?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude.
We have a couple here, I've heard.
Yeah. It's in like Maple Grove or something.
So you both like cats?
Yeah.
Because
we just have like a general interest in animals. Yeah.
I think it's
nothing too serious yet, but we we've only met a couple times.
Yeah.
So we went to a cat cafe this morning.
I think it's really important to take that time to yourself and like find out, learn to love yourself, date yourself, like they say. Because I know I was single for 2.5 years once I realized relationships were causing me a lot of issues. Not them, but like how I was, how I came to them. Right. And that time alone is super important.
I think so too.
Super important.
I keep trying to tell. Well, I wouldn't say I'd tell people to do anything. Like, you do whatever you want. Yeah. When it comes to treatment, relationships, it's whatever you want to do, you're going to do it. But when they tell you when you get out of treatment, like, you should be single for like a year. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't too. Like, I jumped into a relationship for 2 years, and it was okay. It was actually like a fairly healthy relationship, but we were both like way early sobriety, it just like that. Yeah. So that stuff. But after that, I was single for a year and a half, 2 years again. And I think that was a really important moment. And I really like dusted off all this, like, I need someone, or I need like, I love a relationship. I love, having someone.
Totally.
But I couldn't care less anymore, I guess. I'm just kind of like, if it happens.
That's when you find like the person that you like, you really mesh with, at least from my experience. I don't know,
All of a sudden someone comes along and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. But I've done that too. Like they say, don't get in a relationship. But like when you get out of rehab or you start your sober journey, even if you didn't go to rehab, like you want someone to spend your time with, because you're like, man, I have all this downtime. Yeah. And like it's hard to like cut that knife down the middle of like codependency and like a healthy synergistic relationship. So
I completely get it though. I mean, I saw a lot of relationships fall apart where people like, because one person's gonna use and then the next person's
and that's the funny thing. Right after I got out of rehab too, I met a girl. I went to the spirituality center in Lake Harriet, and she was fresh out of Hazelden, and we got married in Vegas after knowing each other for a week.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was
that's incredible.
Isn't that wild? But like,
I actually really love that story.
We're both like freshly sober though,
Yeah, let's go get married.
Like because we're looking for something to fill that void, and that's what she actually introduced me to the concept of more. It's like I'm not an addict. I'm addicted to this thing. So we are not addicts. I do not identify as an addict. And you shouldn't either. Eckhart Tolle, are you familiar? Spiritual. You should. I'll send you some podcasts. Really good shit.
I think you gave me a book.
Yeah.
One time that I read.
Probably Thich Nhat Hanh. Maybe True Love.
Possibly.
But Eckhart Tolle, like he has this whole philosophy with addiction where it's like never, when you identify says I'm an addict, all of a sudden you've confined yourself to a bubble. Not I'm addicted to this substance, because your problem was you were addicted to alcohol. Yeah. You're not an addict. You could be addicted to anything. You could be addicted to sex, food.
Oh, I'm definitely an addict through and through in those terms.
Right.
Like, I love everything.
And that's where Britt, my ex-wife, introduced me to the concept of addicted to more. We're not addicted to anything. We're addicted to more of anything. Yeah. So we're not addicts.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I never thought of it that way.
I know, right? And she learned that from her therapist.
I can definitely tell, like, my addiction tendency is to like anything. Nicotine. Anything. Games.
Right, yeah. It's a personality thing. Sense. Totally. Yeah. So and I recommend for anyone at home, if you have struggled with anything and you say, I'm an addict, it comes with all of these judgments. And, like if you say, hi, I'm Sean, and I'm an addict, that's why I don't like AA, is because you're saying I'm powerless, which is completely untrue. I've been addicted to tons of things for periods of my life, but so I'm not a drug addict, I'm not a booze addict, I'm not a sex addict, I'm not a eating addict, I'm not a love addict. I'm just Sean, and I have been addicted to stuff because we have an addictive personality. Yeah,
that's an interesting way to look at it.
It's good philosophy,
for sure. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to
I think it's a healthy way to look at it.
It's healthy for us. Yeah. Because I've personally, once you get labeled, especially with mental health issues, once you put yourself in a box, it's like, I am bipolar. No, I am living with bipolar. It's different. If someone has cancer, you're not going to say, I am cancer. You are living with cancer. So I think it's really important for people to separate themselves from their illness. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to your kitty cat date, though.
My what?
Your kitty cat date.
Oh, so my kitty cat date.
So you love animals.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know you have two animals. You have a dog, Ludo, and a cat, Gatsby, right?
I do. Yeah. Ludo doesn't live with me.
Okay.
Ludo lives back home to my parents. I got Ludo with an ex-girlfriend, and you could probably, I don't know,
Yeah.
that was a weird time. Essentially, ended up staying at my house, and I ended up being mine. But
I got the kids in the divorce.
It's it was we're kind of over it now. It was like a big deal at the time.
Oh,
like,
it is.
She really wanted him, and then it was more like a living situation, like complication. I feel like, but I was also paid the vet bills, and they weren't cheap.
It's a divorce. You're
I was
like,
kind of like no, but he stayed there because it's a house, has a big backyard. He's like a lab, so he
looks a little golden too.
Yeah, he's like a brown. He's a lab mixed with like a blue tick healer or something. He has like a curly tail, but he looks like a lab. He's like a golden. Yeah, gorgeous dog. I love him to death. I have him tattooed on my finger. I have his name.
Ludo, nice.
Yeah.
Is that a reference to the Labyrinth, Ludo?
It is.
Yeah, I got a little figure of him on my shelf. I love Ludo.
That was my. I did watch it with my ex.
Okay,
and that's where
it came from.
It picked up.
Yeah,
and because they're the same color, essentially, I think that's where she like kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, but.
Rock friend.
Yeah. No, it's a classic.
It's a classic,
really
and Ludo's
movie.
such a good character.
But I have a cat. When I moved into my first studio in St. Paul, I needed a companion because I was living alone for the first time, and I'm a big cat person.
Cats are great.
I love cats.
Love cats.
Easy to take care of, easy to have.
Yeah.
Studio, but I was like, fuck it. Ended up getting her. It was funny too. Her name's Gatsby. My sponsor, actually, his mom just has like a barn cat that just has litters, I guess.
All the time.
Yeah. I think it's that kind of situation.
Yeah.
She was like, I have a cat you could have, because I was kind of looking, and said it was a boy, and I was like, okay. And I just didn't think to check. I don't know. Like,
I mean, you're just gonna. Why would you lie?
She was like fucking, the size of this.
Yeah.
And I got her, so I was just like, okay, yeah, it's Gatsby, it's a boy.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, she's like in heat, and
you're like, wait
I'm
a
like,
second.
Wait. I've never had a female animal before, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I didn't know what was going on while she was
making sounds
just
and doing weird things. Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I took her to the vet, and they're like, this is 1,000% a female cat. And I'm like, no.
Like, oh shit.
I
didn't know you identify. I've been misgendering
I've
you. I'm
been-
so sorry.
totally.
So inconsiderate.
The name stuck though. It's Gatsby Girl.
I mean,
And,
that's unisex, right? Gatsby, sure.
Yeah. I think I read The Great Gatsby in treatment before I got her, and it was kind of on my mind.
You fucked up though, girl cats. My rule of thumb: girl dogs, boy cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. My cat sucks sometimes. Yeah. She is like I don't know if it's because she came from a barn, but she's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
She is like not cool at all. She's like, I think girl cats, if I'm understanding it from my girl cat, are just more protective, and she's lovable. Like she won't hurt or harm.
Yeah.
She's not mean, but she like.
They got personality.
She doesn't want to cuddle. She doesn't
Yeah.
want to. She'll come to you if she wants to. She owns the place. Like she doesn't pay rent, but it's like it is what it is. So yeah, I learned that. So I had an ex, I had a boy cat.
Yeah.
Most lovable. Fucking just want like.
They're so nice. The worst things they'll do is piss somewhere, but like. Totally. But you said something you mentioned that I want to touch on is that you felt lonely after rehab. You're in your studio and you just needed that companionship. Something that I've always preached. And I don't know if you remember, I was the community and social impact lead for the Differing Abilities Network at our job for a while.
Yeah.
So I was running those like daily talks and morning posts. And something I've preached through that is in recovery, get yourself something to take care of, even if it's a fish, something that relies on something you have to wake up and feed, something you have to remember, something that depends on you, and ideally something that could cuddle you like a cat or a dog. But like even if it's a hamster or a fish, I think that's so beneficial from stopping you from like maybe running to a relationship or going and getting the drugs. Because one night when you're like, oh, I really could go for a drink, you're like, oh, but my cat, I'm gonna go feed my cat instead.
I definitely do. I don't know if it's the healthiest thing to do, but I think another thing that contributed or is contributing, I wouldn't say it's as bad now to my sobriety, but kind of like guilt tripping myself Or they call it like playing the tape back. Like, what happens if you do this? Like, what happens if you, how are your parents going to feel? Like, how are you going to, like, I feel like I hold a lot of guilt sometimes, and which has kind of carried. Right now, I'm in a place though that it's more like this is who I am. Like, I don't drink. Like, I'm getting to the point where I don't think about it. I mean, obviously you have your moments
right,
where it's like, damn,
it'll always knock on your door.
There's small things that, like, you know, a cold beer with like some wings. I'm fucking sick right now. Like,
I know.
But, you know, I know where it leads, and I think I've done well playing the tape back.
So playing the tape back, I think you're touching on shame.
Yeah.
Or future shame or guilt.
It's kind of guilting yourself. Like,
which is a powerful
form
of control.
Yeah.
Not the best.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? I think
that's how I've kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to fucking... I don't know. I feel like I put a lot of people through stuff, especially like my parents, and I know like how proud and happy they are now, which is great. And I'm happy it's that point. And
so you feel like if you slipped up, like you wouldn't just be disappointing yourself, you'd be disappointing other people.
Yeah, like I feel like I carry some weight.
It's like a burden.
Yeah.
So
I try to think of it as like, I mean, sometimes it feels selfish because you're like not giving in to your own desire. It's a weird like mental game. Like, you're not giving in to your own like am I being selfish right now?
Right.
Like, in a weird way. Like, is it? But I think all of it's kind of selfish.
But being selfish is healthy.
Yeah.
Like
sobriety.
Narcissism, to an extent, is just self-care. Yeah. What I learned in therapy. If someone's like, I'm not going to help you, I want to go take care of myself. Someone could take that as you're being narcissistic and selfish, but you're really just taking care of your needs and yourself. Yeah. So
I think that's something people struggle with for sure.
Everyone does. Me too. Yeah.
Or receiving that kind of feedback, or like
totally. Yeah.
Which is,
it's powerful. And I've struggled with that a lot. I know I have a lot of friends have, and through any rehab I've met friends, they've struggled with that. But I've kind of gotten over that hump, you know, where now it's like, that's not the primary drive for me staying sober. It's for me now. Like, it used to be like, oh, I don't want them to think this or be disappointed. But then eventually you're like, I'm not living my best life, you know, like this podcast. I didn't start social media for 3 years. I lived in a hole depressed because I knew people would judge me because they saw me back online. They'd think they're like, oh, is Sean okay? Is he mentally stable? So I lived in this hole. And then, like, I don't know, one day something my therapist said to me, and I was just like, oh shit, like I'm literally not being myself.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line, and it can really help you. That shame and guilt and that, you know, it can help get you there, but that's no way to live, I don't think.
It's where you need a little kick of nihilism. Just like,
there's a little kick of fuck it, man. Fuck it, like, you know, if you're Christian, have faith. God's got a plan. Who cares what I do? It's all figured out. He already wrote the book. Like, you know, like,
got it.
More Buddhism. Just live in the moment and make the right choices right now for you. Because at the end of the day, I think you want to stay sober for you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that's one thing I try to. I'm not necessarily a dick about it anymore, but anyone who is like struggling with addiction or has come to me for advice or has like,
you're like, come on.
And we kind of like go through, you know, I keep going back, or I'm just like, I don't know what it is. And eventually I'm like, it's because you don't want to. Like,
they're not there yet.
You're just not. Yeah. Which is like, it sounds really shitty, but it's like, there's only so much other people can do for you. You gotta do it
until the right thing happens to them and they want it. Like, it is judgment. I feel you, because I hate feeling like that too. But like when I see someone specifically, I'm still working on this, playing like the victim. Like, I'll have conversations with someone who's like, poor me, you know, like, oh, everything's happening to me. Like, they have no role in their lives. I get that same like judgment where I'm like, well, like, what was your role in this? Like, what could you do different? Like, I think that's normal, but Eckhart Tolle, I hate to go back to him again, but like what he said is like, you have to meet people at their level of consciousness. So like when you meet someone who's like that and still struggling, you have to like accept it and be like, oh, and remember you were there and kind of see yourself in them and be like, okay, I'm not better than you. I was you.
Yeah.
And you could be me. We're the same, you know? So it's tough though. I'm still working on it.
Sponsor comes in.
Yeah. Or a friend or like,
Friend, anyone.
Or a role model or like, totally super
I really
important.
didn't get that at first when people were like, find a sponsor that you want to be. I'm like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
What, like, I think the first person I tried to sponsor me, I just heard him say something good at like a meeting, and he didn't know how to work like a phone, so that like didn't work out.
You're like, oh.
I'm like, oh, okay, like, is this like how this goes? Like, how does it? It seems really awkward. But then I met my current sponsor, and like I was like, oh, like I want everything this guy has.
Yeah,
like, this is like the coolest motherfucker.
Just aligned with.
Yeah, just aligned perfectly, and it was fine, and I was like, oh. It's not necessarily like, oh, you want to be this person. Like, you want what they have. Like, it's just it's
you'd be
super
like,
simple.
You'd be happy being where they are.
Yeah. And they're a great, because I think that was another struggle too. And what people struggle with is like how they're going to be perceived, or if they can be cool, or like how they kind of like, I'm like, dude, am I going to be like a total fucking snob, a loser? Fucking, like, this shit.
It's going to become your whole life.
Is there anyone cool, sober? Like, that's kind of like how your brain is before.
Totally.
Like, is there a cool, sober person? And like, like, most people that are sober are pretty fucking cool.
For the most part, right.
For the most part.
But those few bad ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything.
Well, yeah, like, reference it back to Christianity and how some bad Christians, like, put you off to it. Bad sponsors who are, like, for me, like the ones who are like, sobriety's my life. They every day, they can't shut the fuck up about it. Like, can you have a conversation that isn't about sobriety? Like,
that's why I've definitely learned everyone's sobriety's totally different.
Yeah,
and mine has just been mine. Like, I don't like. I've definitely ran into those kind of people where it's like, damn, like, fucking, it's exhausting to listen to.
For sure,
to a degree, but like, if that keeps them sober, if that's what they got to do, more power to them. But like, you know, don't over pressure yourself to like fit into this, or like have to, you know, be constantly reading a big book, or you know, like, find what works for you. I've always been like, try these things. Yeah. But don't. Yeah. If you meet, there are definitely people who are like, oh, bro,
it's their life. And like, it could be for anything, like someone who's obsessed with a hobby or anything. Like, if that's all they talk about, and anything you bring up, they reference their thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a video game. They're like, oh, like, I really love this food, it's delicious. They're like, yeah, it reminds me of this from this video game. Or they're like, oh yeah, well, God would say this. Or like, yeah, I'm so grateful because I'm sober for this. It's like, can you live in the present moment and enjoy it for what it is? But you have to respect them, you know. Whatever works for them,
whatever works for you. But I definitely struggled with that kind of, like, oh, am I supposed to be like
that,
balls deep in a big book all the time? And like, I used to call them big book Jedis. Like,
big book Jedi.
Yeah, because they just like throw shit at me off the top of their dome, and I'm like, I read it. I with my like, at our own pace, and like what felt good to us, and I've definitely understand.
I think I could, like, I'm just thinking is now, and it could be completely wrong, it's like almost codependency in ... I'm codependent in the big book, I'm codependent in religion, I'm codependent. It's but hey,
and I think I feel like I've seen those people have the most struggles, because that is their code, like, you know, they get bored of it, or misuse, and it's like,
well, when your thought is so rigid, and you're like, like the big book, like, if something contradicts or questions or challenges that, all of a sudden it could shatter your world, because you're not keeping an open mind, you know.
And those are the loudest ones usually.
It is. The people that know the least tend to be the loudest. Well, let's boil back to some more like personal things about you. So, like, I know you're a photographer. You're heavy into photography. I've seen you with a camera in your hand a lot.
I have a film camera that was gifted to me, and it's more just a hobby. Everything I do is mostly a hobby. I like to write a lot. I used to be really big in the writing, just because I'm like obsessed. I'm a big like art junkie.
Yeah.
Like if I am addicted to something, it's
Art.
I just like I appreciate it, and I don't know, when it comes to tattoos, when it comes to paintings, when it like all my Instagram really is just like art and fucking.
It really is.
And I've never had the attention span or I guess that brings me back to I've never been able to like focus on something until lately, since I've been seeing a psychiatrist, now that I think about it. But I've always just been a shitty, like, I've always wanted to paint, I've always wanted to like do all these things.
Yeah.
But writing, I was always like inherently pretty good at.
That's your
like,
thing?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
like always writing. I have like fucking 8 journals. None of them are filled. I just
Okay.
always get a new journal. I'm always writing. And photography is kind of one of those things that it's like.
Just for fun.
I think film is so sick.
It is so
I
sick,
think it's
though.
it's
It's
kind
magic,
of it's kind of a
dude.
pricey
Oh God,
hobby,
yeah.
but I just kind of picked it up, and I kind of struggle to like get out, and especially during the winter now. But yeah, it's more just like a hobby, and I know a couple of photographers that are really good, but it's nothing I've really like delved into.
It's just for fun.
It's for fun.
Yeah, but writing is like where you thrive.
Yeah, if I could be anything, I think a writer or a
What do you mean be? You
poet.
You are a writer.
Yeah,
What do you mean? If I could be.
I struggle to. I made a Substack recently, a couple months ago. It's called Substack.
Substack, never heard of it.
It's like a website where you can publish like articles essentially, but you could also be creative, and it's poetry, stories.
It's like a blog.
It's basically just a blog.
Okay.
Yeah, and I started posting a little bit on there, but I'm so weird about social media. I don't want to post anything.
I know.
I don't want people to receive me ever.
But you want to put your art out there.
But yeah, and I just think it's something that'll be cool to leave behind maybe when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And like people can,
I could totally relate to that.
Yeah. It's kind of the thing that's like, I don't know if I'll ever have kids or like ever, but if I can make something, that'll just last somewhat.
For sure.
That's kind of like the narcissism, I guess.
Well, no, but it's human. It's that's why I say it's human. But I felt the exact same thing. Like this whole podcast, what I'm doing right now, I was like, wow. Then if like I die, my kid can like if he was ever sad and wants to learn more about me, he has this whole catalog that's permanent. Or like for you or for any guest I interview, if their kid or their family wants to like just hear your voice again, like. So I have that same drive, but social media sucks. It's the worst part about this.
Yeah, I just don't know what it is. It's that weird pressure.
Yeah.
It's that weird, like, I'm going to put this thing out to strangers that don't, as I'm talking on a podcast. Strangers.
No, but you're talking to me.
I know. But it's just it's intimidating and
totally
something you just got to kind of do. And
right.
I probably will. And I don't know. I'm not a big networker. I'm not a big like.
Well, and artists, we take criticism like the hardest,
Right.
So like if something we really love and we're so ecstatic about, we put out there and it gets like no shit, we're like, what did I do wrong? And we start questioning our own creative process. Yeah.
And most of the shit I've written is like deeply, like I wouldn't say deeply personal, but I mean none of it's like just this happy-go-lucky thing to read, probably. Or I wrote it when I was maybe pre-sobriety. Like I have all this shit and all this, and sometimes I'll like turn it into a song, maybe, or I'll like, I'm always thinking about different things to try and do creatively.
Yeah.
I've picked up like charcoal drawing recently.
Fuck yeah.
I have an easel in my kitchen.
Cool. Yeah.
There's no kitchen table. It's just an easel, and I was like, I'm gonna pick up.
Just to try it out.
Just to fuck around.
Just to try and get it out that way and see what happens.
Yeah. Just kind of.
Well, like
nothing is like my true.
Well, I think writing is for you.
Yeah. I do appreciate video games though. Too. Yeah.
Totally.
Since we work in video games.
We do work in video games.
Yeah,
we do. But it kind of takes some of the love and passion out of it for me, at least.
Yeah.
My nihilism comes in strongest at work.
Yeah.
When I get there.
It's just, I don't know how much we can say, but.
No, but I just want to touch on something you said, which is, I was actually thinking about earlier when you said you're sober, almost 6 years, but you said with your ADHD, you haven't been able to focus recently until you started talking to your psychiatrist. You see where I'm going with this, which means probably they prescribed you a chemical
Yep.
to help you with your focus. So what are your thoughts on like you being sober, but maybe something you're prescribed medically could be abused and considered an addiction by someone else?
Yeah. I struggled with that
Yeah.
because I have a really bad dissociation problem. Like I'm never present like in my head. Now I am.
I was gonna say you've been doing great.
No, I never like. I just I don't know. I like deadpan a lot before if I don't. My mind doesn't stop. It never has, and it's something too that is very common in alcoholics, and because that first like up with the booze is what you're looking for.
Yep.
Like, and I didn't understand that for a really long time until I was just like, dude, I can't like, it's not even focus. I just like
be in the present moment.
Yeah, I just never was.
And
even
alcohol brings you
during
there.
sober,
Right.
Even during sobriety, I was still just like,
or
fuck,
use.
dude, like, I just never, I couldn't concentrate on anything.
Yeah.
It's hard to sleep sometimes. It's just like,
Yeah.
and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna. I had tried some medicines with like family doctors, and they would just, they just keep giving you like. I've been through every antidepressant. Wellbutrin was horrible. I've been through all that. I am like I'm on a, shit, what is it called? One of the antidepressants. I am on Vyvanse now, but I went to the psychiatrist and immediately, she was like, saw the list of drugs I've already tried, and it's not like I like went full for like, hey, I need fucking.
You weren't seeking.
I wasn't seeking at all. I was just like, hey, like, she gave me this sheet, like a questionnaire, like an ADHD, like, and all of them, are fives. Like you're just.
She's like.
What? Not even diagnosed. Just like she was like, yeah, it's probably, and she was pushing. Adderall, and I was like,
it's one of the scarier ones.
Yeah, because I did Adderall in high school a couple times. Fucking awesome. Great. And like my buddy had a script and he didn't take them. He would just give me one, and during school, I was like, if everyone took this, we'd all have straight A's. Like, this is fucking amazing.
Which is not true.
Is not true. I didn't think, like, then I just thought everyone reacts the same way to everything. Right. But I was like legitimately like, I'm the best fucking student.
I can actually learn. School works. I understand it.
I can hear. I can like everything like stops.
But you see someone who doesn't have attention issues like us on a stimulant, and they're bouncing off the walls like it's meth or coke, and you're like, whoa.
No, we had a buddy take 2 at a time. And he had like a fairly high dose, and he was awake for like 2 days, and his hair started falling out.
Oh no.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo this. I definitely saw people abuse Adderall though, and so we came to the middle ground, which I guess is Ritalin. It was Ritalin first, or Vyvanse,
It's a stimulant, but it's not an amphetamine derivative,
and it's an extended, and I don't feel, it's a fairly low dose, and she's aware that, I'm sober, and I think it's okay. I did like, I was nervous. Like, is this am I gonna feel a certain way about this? Am I gonna, I honestly don't take it during the weekends. It's something mostly for work and like, or honest, she's like, take it when you need to get some shit done and you need like your attention there. And it was crazy the first time I took it. And I was at work.
And you're like, holy shit.
I literally, like, tears coming to my eyes. I was like, I
can do it.
I can hear. Like, I can, like, everything stops. I can fucking, it was such, like, a big weight.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
It sucks, dude,
knowing
you need it.
Knowing you kind of need it.
I totally can relate to that.
I can make it, through the day without it, and it's fine. But, like, it does suck to know that I need this substance to be normal, I guess, or just be present in a way. But no, I was never a big pill guy though, and for like drugs in general, like I never it was something I could always just do for fun. So I wasn't super worried, but I did have that. And I did have that conversation with like a sponsor. Like I was like, hey, I'm taking this. And he was like, if you're feeling okay, it's not a problem. And my life has been better for it.
I can relate so much.
And I would recommend anyone struggling or who does have like an extended amount of sobriety time, but you're still feeling, unwell, or that your mind feels fucked. Therapists, psychiatrists, just do it. Just fucking go. And because just because you're sober, your mental is still... You
still got to figure your shit out. Now figure it out at baseline.
Yeah. So that was,
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, this is something I've preached and I've gotten yelled at in sobriety groups for, when saying, if you've been addicted to something, alcohol or whatever, you can still use addictive substances, such as stimulants. I mean, you have to be careful and have that thought, thought, obviously, but it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. And your fear of it could ruin your life. Like if you had just been afraid of a controlled substance because of your history, you might have not found this thing that helps you perform so well.
Or just find the right doctor. Don't let, as much as like supportive groups are great, and don't take just some random person's word for it.
Don't go to TikTok for all your advice.
Don't go to fucking, go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Talk about it. See someone if you feel like you didn't get, or if they weren't. Because I've definitely been the doctors who just
look at you like an
don't
addict.
Don't give a fuck. You're just like, check. I'll give you some.
Yeah.
Here's some more Wellbutrin, and you're just like, I think this is just more than,
Have you dealt with psychiatrists? I know I have, where once in your chart, it's like has been addicted to, they just, the controlled substance out of the picture. Won't even consider it.
No, my therapist was kind of like, because I didn't tell her how long I was sober. And she was like, I think she looked at my chart and she was like, well, the first thing we need to take care of is your sobriety. And I was like, well, I've been sober this was like 4.5, 5 years. Like, oh, okay. Like, I think my psychiatrist said the same thing. She was pretty like, the first thing you need to take care of is your sobriety.
For sure.
They will be like, if you're not sober, we're not going to fuck around with. But when they saw my history, it had been a long time at that point that they were like, okay, it's obviously.
Oh, totally. Because if you got prescribed Vyvanse within a couple months of coming out, you could have very well fallen into that addiction.
For sure.
Yeah. You just substitute it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to know that just because you've been addicted to something doesn't mean you're going to be addicted to anything. And
oh yeah, no.
I know stimulants also for me changed my life at work, and I remember that same day when I got them and I came into work and I'm like, holy shit, you're excelling quotas. You can focus. You're communicating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing.
No, I love that I don't have to feel scared to do anything. Kind of.
I know.
Just have to hear every voice in my head just screaming. It's fucking.
It's amazing how stimulants affect people with fast brains and people with slow brains. They speed up the slow brains and they slow down the fast brains. Yeah. Well, Josh, thank you so much for being so candid and open and vulnerable.
Sure,
we're coming to the end of our time, so I just want to ask you some more general fun questions. Okay. Yeah. So how do you define happiness, and what brings you the most happiness in life, joy?
That's tough. Happiness has been this unattainable thing. It seems like God almost. And it I always revert back to contentment, I guess, just being content with the day, or I don't know that anything. I think happiness is always fleeting. There's always something that could be stressful, or I don't know. I don't really know what. I think I'm just more. I think happiness is being grateful for what you have and appreciating that, I guess.
Totally.
I think that's as simple as I could put it. I don't think there's one thing that brings me like great joy. You know, there's the little things, the minimum. I mean, I'm not really like my cat, you know.
Yeah.
My cat brings me joy. The little things, just
Yeah.
the little things, and you know, talking with people, little stuff like this is even like great. And you know, I think when I think about happiness, I put too much pressure on it.
Okay.
Kind of deal.
Right.
So it depresses me. I have major depression.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Happiness is, I have major depression. That's what, yeah.
So when you think about happiness as something to obtain, you feel like you don't have it, and
I don't think so. No.
no.
I don't think it's something no. I think it's just something that comes and goes, and you'll know it when it happens.
Yeah.
Whether it's a cat cafe in the morning, or
Yeah, it's the little things.
Yeah, or a nice
A slow morning, cup of coffee,
nice cigarette, and
good conversation, and a
on
cigarette.
a nice day,
Yeah.
or a good book. You know, it's just that's kind of how I think of God too. You know, it's just or a higher power, what have you. Just the little things.
Yeah.
You know, that's bigger than you, or the small things.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Yeah.
A quote that comes to mind when you're talking about this is, I forget who they said, don't mistake comfort for boredom. So like when you're comfortable and you're happy, like don't let your brain trick you to think you're bored.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Because boredom's very much a killer.
Oh God.
When it comes to people's
Yeah.
you know, issues, or I'm grateful I never feel like I have to be doing something like all the time, or like I don't know. I don't have FOMO anymore.
Yeah.
Which I think is huge.
That's huge.
Yeah, which I think is good.
All right, if you had one piece of advice to pass on to the world before you died, a younger you, like what is the one core concept, what is the one sentence or philosophy that you think is the most important?
Slow down.
That's a good one.
Down.
That's a
You'll
good
be
one.
fine. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think is like what I wish I would have when I was younger. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people have done it. Just trying to grow up so fast that it just like kicks your ass in the end, or you know, you end up in a rehab at 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, just slow
down.
down, take a breath.
Totally.
It'll be fine. Everything's fine.
Take a breath. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath.
It'll be okay. Slow down. There's nothing you're missing.
Yeah.
You're
just perfect the way you are.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You're so fine, and it'll be okay.
All right. Well, now you can probably, for the people at home, you mentioned this earlier. I don't know if you can hear the dogs whining in the background,
I can't.
but that's our alarm. So to
that's
send
fine.
it off for the last question, Joshua, would you kick a puppy as hard as you could, knowing full well you will probably end that thing's fucking life? You would. You killed a puppy to save 100 strangers' lives. That puppy right there. Would you kick that whining puppy to save 100 strangers?
I want to say I probably would, but if it was a cat,
Oh, okay.
I'm saving that cat.
Okay.
Not a chance.
I just identified a biases in you. All right.
If there's a kitten, if it's like a little kitten.
Yeah. Oh, it would change everything.
No fucking way. 100 people can eat shit.
I gotta start asking 2 questions at the end of
You
this.
should.
Yeah.
You should say cat or dog.
Cat or dog?
'Cause
Yeah.
People do.
I didn't realize.
I don't. I love my dog to death. I love dogs.
But cats
There's
are just
something about a cat that I like. I want to save.
'Cause Gatsby
even
was-
if they don't need saving, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I do.
I think they're just so pure and great.
And I have the same feeling for a dog because I think the reason is I'm analyzing here is that was what I had when I needed someone when I was getting my life together.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah,
All right, Josh. Well, thank you so much. Last question.
Yeah,
Can I get a picture of you, throw you on the wall, Legends?
sure.
Great. All right.
I don't know how to pose for a picture. I'm awkward.
Pose pretty. Oh. Hold
Wow.
on. Battery's dead.
What
Okay,
the
well, cut the
fuck?
camera. We'll get the picture.
We'll get it.
Stay there.
It's-
Thank you. Thank you, Josh.
Yep.
Look how many